Good morning, everyone, once again. Today we are kickstarting with domain 3. And in this domain 3, remember we've done domain 1, domain 2, and now domain 3. What do we say domain 1 is? Security principle. Domain 2 is what? Disaster recovery, incident response. Domain 3 is what now? Access control. So, what is access control? In your own terms or understanding, what do you understand by access control? Somebody will come and ask you, give me access, because they don't have access. It means you have already done what? Control the access. So, in a layman term, what is access control? Does anybody want to try? All right. So
Access control should simply mean um, granting access to something only to authorized personnel
exactly,
or users.
exactly. So is the bedrock, is the fundamental security concept that governs who have access and who does not have access to resources within a digital environment or an organization. So it ensures that it's only authorized users that can have access to specific data, application, network servers, and so on. So the key component of access control is what? Authentication, authorization, and policies. We've discussed what authentication is: to verify the identity of a user before the user is being granted access. Authorization is to determine what action or resources the authenticated user is allowed to access. Then the policies are the rules that define access level based on role. Is it going to be a user role, admin role, a management role, and so on? It is important that we prevent unauthorized access to sensitive data. That is going to reduce the risk of data breaches and insider threats. So we have different types of access control, where we talk about discretionary access control, mandatory access control, role-based access control, attribute-based access control, and so on. As we journey on this, we see that access control fundamentals, we use this to regulate resource access. Then we now talk about AAA model: authentication, authorization, and accounting, which I have explained. Least privileges. Least privilege is the minimum access a user can get in an organization. At least every user in an organization should be able to have access to their emails, which is a working tool. Now, we look at separation of duty. Access control helps us to prevent fraud and errors. This is what I'm trying to explain before. Access control types. We have discretionary access control, where the owner determines who accesses what. Here, the manager can determine who he can give access in his team to certain documents and certain operations. Mandatory access control, MAC, is classification based on access. So if a user is supposed to attend to customers, he must have access to customer details and information. So it is mandatory. Role-based access control. back. This is based on the role that a user is performing. Then attribute-based control. This is access decision are made using attributes like location, time, or device. You don't say attribute is okay. We want to make sure that those that are in Lagos or in this branch can be able to access ABC. You attribute it to them. Now, we have different types of physical access control. We have security guards, ID badges, biometrics, smart cards, and these are not limited to other physical controls. If you look at the pictures there, you will see different types of physical control. There is one called turnstable, whereby when you go, the access card will help you to open it. There is also DORAD. So you need to understand different types of physical controls. Logical access control. Here we have password and multi-factor authentication. Does anybody know what is multi-factor authentication?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Okay, please go ahead and tell me.
Multi-factor authentication is like giving yourself securing yourself in two ways so that you cannot, in Telegram, for instance, where you tend to put password and still back it up with your email. That is an example of multi-factor authentication. So in simple terms, I would say multi-factor authentication is like protecting yourself in more than two ways.
Okay, that's good. More than two ways, that's the right word. When you say two ways, is double factor authentication. All right. What about access control lists? Have we heard about access control lists?
Yes.
Okay, for the purpose of time, access control list is a set of rules that we use to regulate access to resources. It's usually implemented in the network using firewalls to do that. So you can use it to deny access or grant access. That is access control rule. There are so many types of access control rules. We have the ones that you can say file-based access control rule. So you can say so people will be able to have access to this file and directory in the network. It's access control that you use in doing that. You can also filter based on IP address or port or protocol, depending on how you want to configure it. So access control rule is a very, very powerful rule in access control. So you now have a subject. A subject is the user or the system in access control rule. This one comes out in exam, so pay attention. An object is the resource that the object is being accessed. For instance, they will ask you in a question and said, a user is trying to access a file, a file in MongoDB database, and he does not have the permission or was denied access to it. So the user is, they will write permission, they will write object, they will write subject. Which one will be the answer?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay. So the question is, you can be asked that a user is trying to access a file in a database, in a MongoDB database, but he was being denied access to it. So the user is an example of dash, permission, subject, object.
Permission.
Okay. Now let me explain it to all of us. I
User
said,
is the subject.
yeah, let me explain it to all of us again. I said in how access control works, this thing comes out in exam, in CC exam, is non-negotiable. A subject is a user or a system. That is a subject. An object is the resource the user or the system is being accessed. Then the permission is the type of access that subject has, whether it's going to be allowed or it's going to be denied. So in this case now, the person accessing the file is what? The subject.
Permission.
No,
The
the subject.
subject.
Yes, the subject. So it's the subject. Now let's look at the encryption. Encryption used to make some people, they used to mistake it with decryption. Section locking, encryption. So encryption, of course, we used to hear that it has been encrypted, right? This data is encrypted and you need to decrypt it. What is that encryption? It's just a method of protecting our data so that it will not be traveling or be read by anybody. It will not be in plain text. We will convert it into coded format that can only be read with the other person that we gave the encryption key. So without the encryption key, the encrypted file or folder will not open. So the encryption is one of the powerful tools in cybersecurity. We use it to safeguard sensitive information from unauthorized access. So how it works is that we get the plain text, we use a cipher text that is encrypted, unreadable version of the data. When we go to, well, we get to a point where we begin to learn how we can cipher text and decipher it. So we can get a secret code to put on this cipher text, and that code we can use it to give the other person at the other end for decryption. So you use it to revert the cipher text. For instance, now, if I tell you that A is equals to 1, and B is equals to 2, and C is equals to 3, and D is equals to 4. I now write 4, 1, 3. That's 413 is going to be on the encrypted format. So you already knows which one is 4, right? Which one is 1 and which one is 3. So you'll be able to decode it and say that the answer is what?
For DAC.
Dark. Yes. So the answer is DAC, dark. So that is how this encryption works. Do we understand it? That's a layman on the teaching so that we can be able to visualize how it works. Any question on that? And we have different types of encryption. We have different types of encryption. We have symmetric encryption, asymmetric encryption, and hashing. So symmetric encryption is when you have the same key that you use to encrypt it. Is the same key you use to decrypt it. That is symmetric encryption. Are we together?
Yes.
Asymmetric is when you use a public key to encrypt and a private key to decrypt. So you are using two different keys. That is asymmetric encryption. Are we together?
Yes.
All right. So
Yes,
we go into section locking. What is section locking? Section locking is a kind of security mechanism that automatically restricts access to a system after a period of inactivity. We used to use app that after 30 seconds, the app does what? Goes off. Or after a minute, when you are not using it, it locks. That is section locking. Are we together? So you can configure it to time out at any time, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, depending on the configuration that you do. That is section timeout, section locking, sorry. Now let us look at security control protocols. Any questions so far? Security control protocol. 1, LDAP. What is LDAP? LDAP is lightweight directory access protocol. Please, we will be stopping the class now, okay? We'll continue tomorrow. I'm having slight headache.
all right, sir.
All right.
All right. Sorry, sir. Please take care of your health too.
Yeah, it's very